Welcome to the Untold Truths. Trolls Gone Wild. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever watched The Truman Show? It was a 1990s comedy drama movie starring Jim Carrey, which centered around Truman Burbank, who, since birth, lived inside of a reality TV show, but had no idea. But imagine he did. Imagine he knew exactly what was going on, but could do nothing to stop it. I present to you Chris Chandler, the real-life version of Truman, whom is a transgender stuck in a reality she cannot escape from. Since the early 2000s, her life has been held hostage and puppeteered by online trolls in one of the most elaborate schemes of all time, at least within the world of online trolls. They have successfully dehumanized her into a living, breathing meme, wherein to this very day, every step and every breath she takes is documented in what is now a 2,000-page encyclopedia documenting her every move. This documentation includes everything imaginable, from her baby pictures to her nudes, from screenshots of private chat logs and recordings of private phone conversations, to even the most mundane of events, such as keeping record on every Etsy listing and PlayStation Network purchase she's ever made. There's even the YouTuber Gino Samuel, whom, over the course of 5 years, created 60 hours of watch time documenting Chris's life. At this point, you may be wondering, who the heck is Chris? And what makes her so dang special? Well, at face value, absolutely nothing. She was born in 1982 in a small, rural community known as Ruckersville, with a population so small that a fart in the wind could become the talk of the town. She lived a relatively quiet childhood, reading Goosebumps and playing video games. As a young adult, she dressed up as Ash from Pokemon and played games at a local tabletop gaming store. Now, this may seem like a nothing burger to you and a nothing burger to me, but the troll's eye is intricately deep, seeing what the rest of us overlook. Whereas we might see a young, innocent man having childlike fun, the troll sees a cringe-worthy, autistic man-baby dressed up in a silly costume masquerading in a public display of embarrassment. Suffice to say, it was only a matter of time until trolls caught wind of her. And catch wind of her they did. In 2007, an internet user by the name of Vickyville made a post about Chris on the Something Awful forums, which we covered in the previous episode, and she mocked Chris. Vickyville revealed that she knew a guy named Chris from school whom used to hand out business cards in hope of finding a girlfriend. But not only that, Vickyville also exposed Chris's personal website for the community to make fun of, which included a video of Chris in a comic book series that she created in 2004 called Sonichu. The comic book, which follows the adventure of a fictionalized Chris and her imaginary friends, became a staple to trolls and mocked for its childlike drawings and storyline. Things escalated in the later years when Daniel, a man who knew Chris from the tabletop store, and Lucas, a man who knew Chris from her childhood, came into the picture. Chris thought they were both her friends, but they weren't. Daniel secretly photographed Chris at the tabletop store, and Lucas uploaded the photo to the troll-infested platform 4chan on the V board. It was from this point forward that Chris's life would never be the same. He was bitten into by wolves, and the wolves never relented. Now, in the throes of trolls, Chris had an entry created about her on the Encyclopedia Dramatica. The Encyclopedia Dramatica is a Wikipedia for trolls, where all things troll-related are archived. If you're the lucky winner and end up on it, then you'll find your character slandered and mocked, and your personal life exposed in a crude, barbaric fashion, written about in a colorful array of derogatory terms and demeaning remarks. It didn't take long for Chris to find out she was written about on it. Once she found out, in Chris's own words, it was the worst weekend of her life. She tried removing the page, but she couldn't. She tried vandalizing it, but it did no good. At the end of the day, the more she tried, the worse things got. She was only feeding the trolls, after all. By 2009, a user named CogsDev created Quickie, a brand new encyclopedia dedicated 100% to all things Chris. The name was a play on words of Chris's initials and the word Wikipedia. In any event, as history has shown, Quickie became a big deal because it went on to document over 2,000 pages of Chris's life. But it didn't stop there. After the creation of Quickie in 2009 came the Quickie Forums in 2012, which was an online community that discussed all things Chris. In a nutshell, you had the Quickie Encyclopedia to read about Chris, and then you had the Quickie Forums to talk about Chris. We'll revisit Quickie Forums in a future episode, as there's a lot more to it than meets the eye. But despite everything discussed so far, you're probably still wondering, why Chris? Like, what makes her so special? Or more accurately, so unlucky? There's billions of people in the world, after all. Well, the plot thickens. You see, Chris was autistic, but it also turns out she had trouble differentiating reality from fiction. And trust me when I say, that's a troll's wet dream come true. This led her into being duped over and over and over again. She's been tricked more times than the Joker appeared in Batman. Think of it this way. Trolls view Chris like a cow, whereby lactating her disability, they get a bucket full of laughs and giggles that they down like a cold, satiating glass of milk. This is a concept we will be revisiting in the next episode. But for now, keep in mind, Chris was also easily provoked. For example, many years ago, the Sega company changed the color of Sonic the Hedgehog's arms. This enraged Chris. In response to this abhorrence, Chris vandalized the Sonic display at GameStop and then maced a GameStop employee on her way out on December 26, 2014.
Don't call anybody. And that was the bar too.
She was subsequently arrested for this. But here on the Untold Truths, we love a nice, hot cup of tea. This means that the time for beating around the bush is over. We must now step further into the darkness and reveal the truths within. To do so, we explore the ways in which Chris has been trolled. You see, trolls have convinced Chris to shove a clay medallion up her ass, take nudes, give away her money, give away her video games. But a lot of the trolling centered around one fact. She deeply desired a girlfriend, but could never get one. Long before the days she identified as a trans woman in 2016, Chris wanted a girlfriend so bad that she graduated from handing out business cards to holding up full-blown signs that read something like, seeking 18 to 21-year-old single female companion. Chris would find a place to sit, be it the school campus, Walmart, or the mall, and sometimes sit for hours with the sign on display. She did this throughout most of her 20s, from 2003 to 2009, but with no result. She never once found a girlfriend. But she did find herself in a pair of handcuffs after getting arrested and subsequently banned from the mall for her shenanigans of trying to find a girlfriend there. And Chris also found herself in the midst of trolls whom took advantage of her desperation by catfishing her into fictitious online relationships for fun. Over time, in 2009, a supposed 13-year-old troll convinced Chris to travel over 800 miles to save Julie, a fictitious girl held hostage by a man who never existed. This same troll convinced Chris to make a sex tape, which the troll leaked online for the world to see. This is just one of many examples. For instance, in 2016, Chris was tricked into performing sex acts with a doll, and in 2018, she was coerced into more sexual acts. But sometimes, the trolling took a more psychological twist. For example, in 2017, a group of trolls referred to as the Idea Guys brainwashed Chris into believing a dimensional merge was soon to occur, wherein the fictional universe of her comic book characters and the reality that we all live in would merge and become one. But it didn't stop there. These sick, sadistic trolls blackmailed Chris out of $6,000 by threatening to destroy an imaginary city in her comic book series Quickieville. Thankfully, their terror came to an end when Null, an infamous troll we shall soon learn about, contacted the police. And speaking of police, Chris was not only arrested for holding up signs at the mall or macing a GameStop employee, but for something much more sinister. Now that we're done beating around the bush, it's time to set it ablaze. On August 1st, 2021, Chris was arrested for having sex with her 79-year-old mother, supposedly with dementia. But after spending 2 years in jail, the judge dropped all charges against her. She was released back into society on March 27, 2023. But what the heck happened? Well, we need to rewind back to July 30th, 2021, which was just a couple of days before her arrest. On that day, Chris had a video call on Discord with a girl named Bella, a 4chan troll with a history of trolling Chris, secretly recorded the video call in which Chris admitted to having sex with her mother. Bella leaked an edited audio-only version of the conversation to YouTube.
How, if you don't mind me asking, I know it's probably personal, you have to answer, but how is the sex?
I'd say it was satisfactory. It took a while. It took a few tries to...
It took a few tries, yeah. She is older.
And plus, also, she's very understanding about the whole thing as well.
Police soon became involved, and the rest is history. So far, we've barely scratched the surface of Chris's life. We could continue for many more hours, discussing all kinds of things, such as the guard dogs, whom were a trio of trolls turned caretakers that protected Chris from all things bad. Or we could also discuss the man in the pickle suit, whom was a scapegoat that Chris used to blame whenever someone tricked her.
I'll cut right to the chase. Your virginity is my business and mine to control, not yours.
But our story isn't really about Chris. No, it's really about the fascinating history of online trolls. If we were to continue to unravel, unpack, and unveil Chris's rich history and the trolls that puppeteer it like demons beneath the stage, we'd inevitably arrive at the fascinating story of the infamous troll known as Null, whom we cover in an upcoming episode. So join me next time for a fresh, hot cup of tasty tea. And remember, you're the frog in the boiling water, and I'm the chef, slowly turning up the heat.